Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jeremy, founder of QuickMail.io.
And this is Amar with ZenMade, also an angel investor as of like 20 minutes ago. That's right, people. That's right. Please don't DM me too aggressively, but I can make your dreams come true now.
He's got the cash. Okay. Well, talking about cash, actually, today we are going to talk about how to reward ourselves. And I propose a subject to Amar because a couple of weeks back, maybe 3 weeks back, probably more by the time you're watching this episode. But the point is that someone on Twitter mentioned that once I reach 100K a year in recurring revenue, I'm going to reward myself with a pedal bike, right? Like a
Hmm.
nice bike. And that reminded me that, gosh, like 7 years ago when I actually started QuickMail, I say to myself, once QuickMail reach $1 million, I'll be rewarding myself with a motorbike.
Yeah.
And um, several $1 million later and several years later, I still have the old bike. So the I wanted to explore a little bit that between the um, the eager of people starting to say like, I'm gonna work, I'm gonna get a lot of money, and then I'm going to reward myself with basically consumer things.
Hmm.
But first, did you actually have anything like that when you started ZenMade, or was it very much like
Um,
I'm going to be able to pay my rent?
Yeah, for me, it was much more. I've always been driven by kind of like the freedom and the lifestyle, which I think we've obviously talked about quite a few times, like on the podcast. So for me, it was more about that. I don't actually remember ever setting any sort of like specific like physical good that I was gonna like buy, but if I did, it would be something that was like $100 or $200, right? It's not going to be a $10,000 like new motorcycle and stuff. So.
15, yeah.
15, yeah, yeah. mine was like 9 back in the day. I had a Ninja 650 back when I
Nice.
was youthful and vibrant.
Yeah, so actually, after sending this tweet, I say, man, maybe it's time to really pull the trigger because I say to my wife every year
Hmm.
for now, probably the last 5 years, like, yeah, I think this year I'm gonna get a new bike. But somehow it's just like new thing is not really what moves me. Like I'm a bit like you.
Mm,
For me, as long as I got the freedom and the financial freedom, which means I can do my grocery without having to wonder like, will I break the bank or not if I get this versus this? For me, this is the ultimate freedom is like that I'm fine. And then, but I realized like, my bike is more than 10 years old. It was like starting
mm,
to be a quite old one. So I say, okay, maybe I should take it a bit more seriously this year. And so I
yeah.
like every project I take actually went full on. I went like to all the bike shops around, tried
Hmm.
do test drives with all of them, and then after 2 weeks, I was like, okay, I get this one. I bought it, and in 2 days' time, I'm gonna have it. And for those who are curious, it's also a Kawasaki like you, but
Hmm.
it's the Ninja 1000 SX.
Nice.
If that means anything. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Very
bit of
cool.
an upgrade
Very
from my
cool.
Suzuki 650.
Okay. Nice. Nice. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Sounds like you're gonna have a lot of fun on that. Yeah, I think there's a couple of factors though that come into the whole, a lot of people kind of stating publicly that they want to buy something that, I know we were talking about it before we hit the record button, but John from Banner Bear, who I've hung out with a
Oh yeah.
couple of times with in Bali, he had like a motorcycle like goal. I think that was, I don't remember if he was saying that he was actually going to buy a motorcycle when he hit like a certain level, or if it was just that like his goal was to be able to buy like a motorcycle with his like recurring revenue, right? Like I think that might have just been a way
Yeah,
that
I
he
think
was
that was more
visualizing. Yeah.
visualization. Absolutely, because he's got two from the tweet exchange that I got with him,
Yeah, yeah, and yeah,
and not the
I
one he
think I saw.
specified as well, which is kind of funny as a
Yeah,
visualization and stuff. But
I think I saw him like on his Instagram or something that he was getting like another bike built or something like that. Yeah, but he's enjoying his time like in Bali or whatever. But I think that particularly in the beginning, I think that a lot of people are getting into entrepreneurship because because they want that like that financial freedom. And for a lot of people, it might be the first time when they're looking at like businesses or setting kind of their business goals, that they're looking at actually having like a lot of money to be able to buy kind of like a big thing like outright like that. And so I can definitely see, when I was first starting
Oh
ZenMaid, the
yeah.
idea of having, $10,000 or $20,000 to just like buy something outright was just like this a crazy idea to me. So I could see that being a very motivating goal. But I think that what you see, and I think what you've experienced and what I've experienced, is that, as you become more and more like successful, once you get beyond a certain point, like it's not really about the money. That like once the money kind of gets you to kind of that certain like day-to-day lifestyle, it doesn't change your life that much to go and to buy like something big or new like that. And then I think the other big thing, and at least this is true for me personally, I think it was very much the opposite for you, but
Ooh, tell
we've
me.
talked about this on previous episodes, that um you've had a very, very profitable and like cash healthy business from
From
day
the
one.
beginning.
Whereas
Yeah.
for me, I've been taking almost every penny that I had and putting it right back into the business that I underpaid myself for years in order to grow the business.
Yeah.
And, I think because you were like the developer founder, you're solo, all of that stuff, you were able to just take out a ton of money. So one other big thing was that for me, when I was first starting my company, if someone had told me like, oh, like, what are you going to do when you make your first $1 million? I would
Sure.
probably be thinking like, oh, well, like if I made my first $1 million, and like, maybe I'd spend like, $20,000 on like a trip to whatever. But then like when we actually hit the $1 million revenue mark, I didn't
Yes.
have anywhere near that much money in the bank, right? Like it's, that money's
That's
all
true.
gone, right? Like, because you've got to spend money to make money. And that
That's
was like
right.
another really, really big thing is people go, oh, like, $1 million in revenue, like, yeah, I can spend like $5,000 at a strip club. Like, we hit $1 million. I'm like, guys, like we're overdrafted. Like we're not celebrating here. Like if anyone wants to
It's
overdraft their
so
account and rent
true.
a yacht.
Yeah, revenue is definitely not profit for sure, and
Yeah.
profit after tax as well. No, that's a
Yeah.
super fair point. The other thing that you mentioned that I'd like to maybe dig a little bit deeper on that is
Hmm.
like I never said that to anyone because I don't really care. So I didn't actually advertise it on Twitter like once I reach this level or whatever, then I'll do that.
Mm,
So you say like, mentioning publicly, it's interesting. Like I don't really know if that makes anything. Like I've been talking to some other founders and they say, oh, when I get to that level, then I buy a Tesla of cash and stuff like
mm,
that. But it is slightly a different category than a bike at 15K
mhm.
because I could already afford a bike at 15K even before starting my business because
That makes sense.
I managed to work, I was a high
Mhm.
achiever into development, and I was already
Yeah.
making a 6-figure income for quite some time already. So that
Yeah.
wasn't like the money per se was not the motivation for me to start my business.
Mm,
So that was yeah, that was not life changing like what I was mentioning I will get.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, see, for me, it was a massive difference. When I started ZenMate, I don't think that I'd ever been paid more than like $2,200 in like a single month, right? So, to be thinking about spending
yeah, yeah.
10K on something is like almost it was almost like a year's like earnings at that point, right? So that's definitely a very big like difference.
The funny thing, like totally serendipity. Like right now, I'm receiving a phone call from the garage. So I hope they're telling me my bike is ready
It's
tomorrow, but
ready.
I call them back later. Like it's really difficult for me because I'm like super excited. I got like 10 years the same bike. And I'm really not materialistic. Like, in fact, can you actually guess for how long I got these t-shirts? I got like 7 of them.
I
Just
mean,
pick, pick a pick.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure you were wearing that exact shirt in Chiang Mai when we hung out like 4 years ago or something.
Yep, it's exactly true. And I got them from when I had like a 9 to 5 job in a bank. I bought them like
Mm,
probably 2 years early. So that's probably like 2007. It's like
yeah,
13 years I got the t-shirt. Like I'm not a materialistic type of person. I like to get, when I
yeah,
get one thing, I like to get, a good thing that lasts a long
yeah,
time. And the
yeah,
funny thing is
yeah,
that
yeah,
it's not because we're making money that, like, in a lot of people's mind, like, oh, when you're going to make money, you're going to spend a lot. But it's quite the opposite. When I get money, I try to invest. And you're doing angel investment, which is a good thing, but it's not really the sort of like consumer reward, like physical
yeah.
goods. Like I'm always
Well,
disconnected when people tell me like, oh, they're gonna make money and then
yeah,
they're gonna buy a yacht, they're gonna buy whatever. It's like,
yeah, yeah,
but that's like
yeah.
it's
There's
empty for me, right?
Yeah, there's a couple interesting things like that I've noticed that I don't know if you ever heard that saying, and it's very very true in America. I don't know how true it is like elsewhere, but in America it's very true, which is that it's really expensive to be poor. That like I realize that now that I
Mm,
have money, I'm willing to spend more on things, and because of that, I actually end up spending less because I
yes,
just buy higher quality things, and
exactly.
that's definitely one thing that I think actually knowing you has helped a lot with, because I think that when I first started the business and when we first met, I think I had much more of like a scarcity kind of like mindset, particularly like around like money, and then like also just kind of like quality and stuff. I think you were one of the first people that I spent time with where you were very focused on like getting like, the best quality food, and like, it's like what you said, you're not very materialistic, but when you do spend money, you want to spend money on
Yes,
like the best stuff, right? And
that's right.
I've definitely, yeah, I've developed like that as well. Like I don't spend much, and like I don't actually care about like, headphones, for example, all that much. But I have like $300 headphones because, I'm like, I use these every single day,
King
right?
Gamar.
Like, yeah, right. Well, it's one of those things. I knew I was buying
Yes.
them for like a couple of years at a time, and it was one of those things where I was like, I want this to be high quality. It's like bed, shoes, headphones, computer, all of that. And so now the stuff that I actually use every single day, I'm willing to put out a lot of money on, but it's not very often. And
So,
so yeah, it's never like a yacht thing, like.
but it's so true. And in fact, I would recommend you don't necessarily buy on, like you mentioned, the headset. This is a great thing. You get headset like pretty much all your day. Another thing you get all your day is the chair. So,
Mhm.
it's like for me, the thing I will spend a lot of money on is not like everything I can buy or everything. It's like I would prefer to
Mhm.
get like a fewer number of items, but of high
Mhm.
quality that I enjoy tremendously. A good example is my bed, where I spend
Mhm.
like literally a third of my life on,
Yeah.
more or less. And my chair, like I spend a lot of time on my chair. I actually bought a chair and for 10K. I bought it when I was a 9 to 5, employee. So
Mhm.
my chair has probably more than 15 years. I bought it for
Wow.
for 10K, but it's like a
Yeah.
15 years chair. It's Aaron Miller type of thing. I had
Okay.
it when I was working at Electronic Arts, and I say like, man, I want
Yeah.
one for myself. This is so good. You spend 8 years a day on it.
Yeah.
Um, 8 years a day. No, 8 hours a day.
8 hours a day. Yeah.
Otherwise, I get
Yeah.
my
Yeah. Yeah.
math wrong somehow. But it's like for me, that's one of the vital things. So if you can, afford that, then afford it. I would say afford, the thing that you're using the most, and that will make the biggest
Yeah.
impact on your life. So yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely true. You
Yeah.
wouldn't see me
And
buying lots of gadgets, but I will
yeah.
over the years. But just
Yeah. Well, and one thing that I just want to kind of just like mention here, because I don't think that we really like have on here for anyone like listening, is so I think you and I see these things very like similarly, right? That for me being nomadic, you tending to be more minimalist, right? We look at these things very much the same way, but I just want to like remind everyone like listening that you can get into entrepreneurship for any money for any reasons that you
that's
want
right.
to. And like if you're into entrepreneurship because you want to go and like buy a yacht and to do all that stuff,
Yeah,
or
do
like,
it.
if you see like Casey Neistat videos or whatever, where like he just buys or gets like every gadget that you can possibly imagine. Like if that's you, awesome, right? Like go for it, right? That's not me and Jeremy, right? Like I just want to have, I was going to say one pair of headphones or two pair of headphones. I've got like, my jobbers that I'm wearing right now, and then I have my over ears, and I just want to have the best of both of those. And most of like what I like spending money on, now that like, we're doing better as entrepreneurs, is more almost like investments in ourselves, right? So like you said, bed, headphones, stuff like
Yes.
that. Like I'm spending a ton of money on fitness
Oh,
right
good
now,
food.
but
Yeah, good food,
yeah, good
sport.
food.
Like I also
Exactly.
got, oh, it just broke. Fuck, I'm gonna have to buy a new one. Like my treadmill that I
Hmm.
was using every day
Hmm.
for like 6 kilometers,
Gotcha.
like 2.6 miles or something like that. And then it broke.
Yeah.
But I had it since 2009, right? And the thing
Hmm.
that broke is not even the treadmill, is the converter between, 110 volts to 220
Hmm.
volts. So I could
Gotcha.
even like change it, but I'm like thinking,
Yeah.
should I change the whole thing or not for another
Yeah.
15 years? That's my horizon, like the 15 years.
Yeah.
Once
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to
you
say
go,
what
I
I
go.
realized that we focus a lot on. Yeah, what I was going to say. So what I realized that you and I both focus a lot on is on two things. We focus on value, right? So like getting
Right.
like kind of a good deal or getting good value for
And
money, and
return on
then the other
investment in a
one,
sense, right?
yeah, return on investment, and then the other one that I noticed from what you were just saying is utility. that like
Yes,
you're thinking a lot about the
comfort.
time frame. So you're
Absolutely.
like, this is really expensive, but it's 15 years. And so the utility of this for the price is actually very small. And I think we both think about things a lot like that.
That's right. You know what you mentioned, like at some point, it's fine to be in, in entrepreneurship in order to, if you want yacht or if you want the latest gadget and so on. Um, I always find that that's something that is for me, and I'm not trying to judge anyone who does. I'm only thinking that people who tend to go that road or think that way, um, may be missing on something, like, is that may not make them happy, in a sense that they may actually
Yeah.
paint a picture that, if only I could have, and then insert X and X, a Tesla, a house, or
Yeah.
whatever, then I'll be happier. And in fact, you don't necessarily need material things to be happy. In fact, you're probably going to sacrifice a lot of the relationship in order to be able to spend more time on your business and make money, where in fact you're going to realize actually money doesn't make me happy, or even objects, don't, because there will always be the next object, or someone else is going to get a better thing than you, and so
Yeah.
on. And in fact, you would have burned the very same thing that will give you happiness, which is relationship with other people.
Yeah.
So I would
Yeah.
say, if you do pursue this sort of like, okay, I'm going to want to try to have materialistic thing, it's fine. Just bear in mind that maybe try to also build relationship along the way. Like, for example, Amar and myself build relationship because we're together, two founders, and then that's how we sort of like met each other and then enjoy, our company. But so, find ways to also build other things that have more chances of bringing happiness than, tangible things, because I can guarantee you it's not the object. I can lose everything, tomorrow, and it's like my happiness level wouldn't change for, an
Yeah.
inch. Right.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's because it's really more about like your family, your friends, all those relationships, right? Like,
Yeah, and for
also
me
like the
also the
person.
the financial security is important. Like, obviously, if
Mhm.
tomorrow I lose everything, then yeah, I will
Yeah.
stress a bit, like, for sure.
Mhm.
But materialistic stuff, it's like okay,
Yeah.
fine. I'm not attached to
Yeah.
any of those things.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, I was gonna say we haven't I think we kind of discussed it a little bit, but just the other thing is a lot of people think about physical material things or whatever. I definitely found, and I think that a lot of people that I've seen in the nomad circles are much more fulfilled focusing on experiences. That's more
Yes.
probably just more like nomad kind of like stuff. But for me, one of the things that I really like doing is, and what's funny is that it has a lot less to do with the money and a lot more to do with the time and the location independence that we have. Is I like, kind of doing different experiences and going and doing these different things that not everyone can do if they're working like a regular, like job, right? And so it's being able to
Off-peak
go like
traveling, man, such
yeah,
the best experience ever. And in fact,
yeah.
one day I was traveling, it's like, holy hell, why is there so many people? Oh, it's Saturday. Yeah, it's just like you forgot that what it's like to travel,
Yeah.
at peak time. But yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
so
Yeah,
great.
it's like the little things of just like because like it sounds silly, but actually now that I think about it, when we hit $1 million, I think it was when we hit $1 million in recurring revenue. So I think that was October of last year. All that we really did to celebrate it was really we just like took a day off on like
Yeah,
a
all right, back to
Tuesday.
work.
Yeah, like in in
Yes,
in
pretty
Korea.
much.
Well, but the whole thing was that because we took a Tuesday off, it was like we got to go to like two or three of our favorite places. There was no one
Nice.
around, right, and all that stuff, and so it was a nice
Love it.
experience. We didn't spend all that much money, but it's just the kind of thing that I couldn't have done a couple of years ago because of the lifestyle. The other thing that's like actually a big one is particularly if I like sold ZenMaid at any point, but I should probably have a revenue goal in mind, would be like a lot of like football experiences, right? So going to like the 2026 World Cup and
Nice.
doing like an all expenses paid trip, like that's the sort of thing that it's like, oh, like then made the $10 million. That's a nice reward for me, right? That's like trip of a lifetime kind of thing. Like I'd much rather spend on that than on like buying myself a Ferrari or something like that.
Time rewards, I think, is the next thing that comes when people reach a certain level. Like,
Mm.
having days off, like consistently
Mm-hmm.
working less hours. It's funny how we are happy to work 80 hours a week in order to be able to work only 20
Yeah.
hours a week, in the future. But
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I would recommend you. I mean, it's cool to have some sort of goals. I would personally say maybe get like smaller goals in a process. Like I like
Mhm,
the one that John is doing with Banner Bear, like about like
mhm.
this different visualization as to what that means at that
Yes.
level, kind of thing. Like, oh, I could be
Yeah.
buying a yacht every day, but you don't have to buy that
Yes.
yacht stuff. So I think that's
Yeah.
it.
Exactly.
But
Exactly. Yeah. It's a
think
nice
of
nice
time and
visualization.
experience. Yeah, time and
Mhm.
experience, and how can you curate those friendship as well? At some point, I had so
Yeah.
much time, and I asked my friend, and it's like they're all like, "Oh, sorry, we're working too hard."
Yeah.
It's like, bummer. You end up
Yeah.
being
I,
alone.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm like back in California right now. I'm back in Palo Alto, and it's really nice to be back and to see some of my friends where where I grew up and everything. But it's also quite annoying because they're all working, right? And so they're working at like these tech companies. They all go into work at like 11 o'clock, so they're not done until like 7 or 8 in the evening. It's really frustrating. So that's why we got to go to Japan soon.
Yep. So if you want to reach out to us, I think Twitter is a good place for us. It's at J Chatelain. I know you wouldn't be able to spell it, but search on the internet, and it's just Amar, but all letters actually count.
ITSJUSTAMAR. And if you guys are still listening to this, yeah, just drop us a tweet and let us know kind of what your goals are, for the business. And if you want to share, let us know what your goals were when you started your business. I'd be very interested to know if some of the folks listening, if you guys had like similar big materialistic goals when you first started, and if those have changed over time. So yeah, let us know.
That's right. I'm gonna have to make a call to my garage, of course. And you see, I got like
Of
a
course
crappy
you
phone
are.
case. It's like broken and so on, but it's like I don't care. All right,
All right,
great episode. Thanks, Amar. Appreciate.
sounds good.